The town that forgot how to sleep. The killer that never left. Stockbridge, Georgia. A name that used to mean nothing. Now it means bodies, plural. 3 victims in 18 months, maybe more. The cops won't say, the neighbors won't sleep, and the killer still walks the same cracked sidewalks as the people he hunts. They thought it was random, a burglary gone wrong, a drug deal soured. The usual lies a quiet suburb tells itself at 2 a.m. Then came the pattern, the same knot, the same angle, the same silence where there should have been screaming. Somebody in Stockbridge has been practicing, and the practice is getting cleaner. This is the story of a ghost with a face nobody remembers and a hunger nobody saw coming. Act 1. The Stain. A quiet house, a door left open, a nightmare that wouldn't end. The first one was found on a Tuesday. Tuesdays are nothing days. Bills, laundry, reheated coffee. Nobody dies interesting on a Tuesday. She did. Front door half open, no forced entry. The screen still latched from the inside, which is the kind of detail that makes a detective's stomach turn. Because it means she let him in. Or he was already there. The living room looked staged. TV still on. A half-eaten sandwich on the coffee table. Mayo congealing into something the color of regret. She was in the back bedroom. Hands bound, mouth taped. The kind of binding that takes time. The kind that takes patience. The kind that takes someone who's done it before and learned from his mistakes. The coroner counted 47 separate injuries. 47. Most of them inflicted while she was still breathing. He had taken his time. Hours, maybe. In a house on a street where the neighbors mow their lawns on Saturdays and complain about the HOA. Nobody heard a thing. The second body turned up 11 weeks later. A man this time. Different neighborhood, different age, different race. Everything different. Except the knot. The same impossible, deliberate knot at the wrists. And the silence. Again. A whole street of working families and not one of them remembered hearing a scream. By the third body, the GBI was involved. By the fourth, and yes, there was a fourth, the one they didn't announce, they had stopped pretending it was anything other than what it was. A predator. Local. Patient. And nowhere near finished. Stockbridge had a serial killer, and Stockbridge had no idea who he was. Act 2. The Shadows. 4 bodies, 40 suspects, 0 answers. The investigation moved like wet cement. 43 persons of interest in the first 6 months. Boyfriends, ex-husbands, the guy who delivered groceries, the neighbor who watched a little too long from the driveway. Every one of them had an alibi. Every one of them walked. Welcome to modern policing, where everybody's guilty of something and nobody's guilty of this. The detectives ran the geography, plotted the kill sites on a map, hoped for a center of gravity, the kind of cluster that points back to a house, a job, a routine. Nothing. The bodies scattered like buckshot. No pattern, no comfort zone, no anchor point, which is its own kind of signature. Because random isn't random. Random is calculated. Random means the killer is choosing chaos on purpose. Random means he's read the same books the cops have. They pulled cell tower data, thousands of pings, sorted, filtered, cross-referenced. One number kept showing up near 2 of the scenes. Burner phone. Activated at a gas station off I-75. Paid in cash. Dead end. They tried the dating apps. The killer fit a profile that loved apps. Controlled, performative, hunting in plain sight. They subpoenaed records, got matches, got nothing. They tried the pawn shops, the storage units, the cleaning supply receipts, anyone buying bleach in quantities that didn't match a household. Stockbridge buys a lot of bleach. Meanwhile, the families called. Every week, every Sunday. The mother of victim 1 started showing up at the station with a binder, color-coded, tabbed. She knew the case better than half the task force. She asked one question every visit, the same one. Is he still out there? And every week, the lead detective said the same word back. Yes. Because what nobody on that task force knew yet was that the killer had already called the tip line himself, twice, and been thanked for his cooperation. Act 3. The deviant. He didn't hide in the shadows. He volunteered for them. His name doesn't matter yet. Let's call him what the file called him. Subject A. Subject A was 34, worked maintenance at a complex 3 miles from the second crime scene, had a keyring the size of a softball, and a face nobody remembered 5 minutes after meeting him. That was the gift, the forgettable face. The kind of man who could stand behind you in line at the grocery store and you'd swear later you were alone. The browser history came out after the arrest. It always does. And it's always worse than you imagine. Forensic pathology forums. Knot tying tutorials. Specifically restraint knots used in maritime work. Searches for how long does it take to lose consciousness? Searches for the victims' names before they were victims. He had searched for them before. He picked them off Facebook, off Nextdoor, off the church directory that one of them had stupidly left public. He posted on Reddit under 3 different names, long, rambling threads about society and consequences, and women who didn't understand their place. The kind of posts that get 100 downvotes and 1 private message from someone just like him. He had a journal, handwritten, found later in a crawl space under a rental unit he'd vacated. The journal didn't describe the killings. It described the planning. Surveillance logs, what time the porch light came on, which dog barked, which neighbor smoked on the back step at midnight. He had watched the first victim for 14 weeks. 14 weeks of notes before he ever touched the door handle. And the most disturbing entry wasn't violent. It was domestic. She bought a new welcome mat today. I wonder if she liked it. He had been close enough to read the tag. The profilers called it intimacy without contact. The rest of us call it what it is. A man rehearsing a murder until it felt like a marriage. Act 4. The trap. A discarded coffee cup, a DNA hit, the end of a long, quiet hunt. The break came from garbage. It always does. Serial killers don't get caught by genius. They get caught by trash day. A patrol unit had been parked on Subject A's street for 3 weeks. Surveillance on a hunch. The kind of hunch that comes from a tip line call that didn't quite add up. He took out the recycling on a Thursday. Coffee cup on top. The unit bagged it before the truck rolled. Lab turnaround? 9 days. 9 days of holding breath. The DNA matched. Skin cells from under the 3rd victim's fingernails. The match was a 1 in 4.2 billion probability. Got him! But they didn't move yet. Couldn't. They needed the full picture, The storage unit, the journal, the burner. They needed it airtight, because a man this careful would have a lawyer this loud. They got a warrant on a Tuesday. Symmetry, finally, for victim 1. 6 unmarked vehicles, 12 officers. A tactical team that had rehearsed the entry on a mock-up of his apartment for 3 days. He answered the door in sweatpants, holding a bowl of cereal. He smiled. Didn't run, didn't fight. Just set the bowl down on the entryway table, turned around, and put his hands behind his back like he'd been waiting for the appointment. In the bedroom, they found a trophy box, driver's licenses, a hair tie, a child's bracelet that didn't match any known victim, which meant there were more. More than 4. More than the task force had ever feared. Mask off. And underneath, nothing. No monster, no movie villain. Just a tired-looking man with thinning hair who asked the arresting officer politely if he could finish his cereal first. Act 5. The Void. The arrest closed a file. It didn't close a wound. The trial took 14 months. He pled not guilty, of course. They always do, the careful ones. Because the trial itself is the last performance, the last stage, the last audience. He fired 3 lawyers. He smiled at the families during testimony. He took notes in a small black notebook the judge eventually ordered confiscated. The verdict came on a Friday afternoon. Guilty on all counts. Life without parole, 4 times stacked, because Georgia couldn't quite stomach the death penalty for a man who hadn't shown a single moment of remorse. 4 lives, reduced to 4 consecutive sentences served in the same cell. The families didn't celebrate. They never do. Closure is a word invented by people who've never lost anyone. Victim 1's mother spoke at sentencing. The binder was gone. She'd burned it, she said, the night the verdict came down. Because she didn't need to remember anymore. The state would remember for her. She looked at him across the courtroom. He looked back, and whatever passed between them, grief, fury, the ghost of a daughter, he met it with the same blank, polite expression he'd worn at his front door, holding cereal. The system called it justice. The neighborhood called it over. But the bracelet, the one that didn't match. That bracelet still sits in an evidence locker in Atlanta, tagged, catalogued, unclaimed. Somewhere a family doesn't know yet. Somewhere a Tuesday is still coming. Epilogue. What the quiet streets remember, what they will never say out loud. Stockbridge sleeps again, mostly. The porch lights stay on longer now. The next door posts are quieter. The welcome mats get bought without ceremony. 4 families learned what the rest of us only suspect, that evil doesn't announce itself. It mows the lawn. It waves from the driveway. It asks if you need help with the groceries. He watched her for 14 weeks before he killed her. 14 weeks of notes. 14 weeks of waving back. The case is closed. The killer is caged. The town has moved on. But somewhere in Stockbridge, on a quiet Tuesday, somebody is still buying a new welcome mat and wondering why their hands won't stop shaking.